Let us start. Hello, everyone. Good morning to and good evening to people from different parts of the world. I have been chasing Jared for quite some time to set up this interaction because I have been really fascinated with his work in RevGenius, how he has built a 40,000 plus community. When I first joined RevGenius 6 months ago, I was like, what is this? I have never seen community this engaging, of this massive size, and that too of the business professionals, working professionals. So that is the first time I started admiring Jared, and I tried pinging him couple of times, but then certainly one of my posts caught his attention, and then we started interacting, and then I asked him that, can we organize this webinar, and that's how Jared was being humble and said yes. So, introducing Jared. Jared, I'll just give a brief one. You need to tell a bit more about you. But if I just
Sure.
tell in brief, Jared is a marketing pro, sales pro, has been advisor to a lot of companies on their go-to-market operations, and he has built a community of 40,000 plus professionals. As he is more professional on that front, he is also more personal, wherein we can see his post from the family perspectives, which also brings a kind of a different feeling when you read his post. So, really happy seeing your activities so far, Jared. Talking about my background, if I'll just introduce myself, people who don't know me so far, I have been building startups from 2016. 7 years, I've built four startups, three in bootstrap mode, one in funded mode. And never invested single penny into paid marketing. It was always community-led people first approach for my startup. I shut down my last startup in February this year because it was into HR tech, and I took a call. And from that point in time, I have been helping founders with GTM strategies across people first model. And a couple of months ago, I started writing newsletter as well, which instantaneously got some good exposure. So that is what I'm doing now. But Jared, giving a mic to you, would you like to just give a glimpse of your journey?
Thank you. And I'm grateful to be here, everybody. Thank you all for showing up. That's life. And spent 15 years in sales. I mean, I guess I'm still in sales. What brought me to marketing? I had an aha moment halfway through RevGenius that I'm now a marketer. I asked my CEO, I said, "Am I a marketer?" And he started laughing. Um, and it all stems, whatever you're doing in go to market stems from knowing who you're speaking to, right? Like, and that's community in a nutshell. And the reason why I was so successful, and I'll tell you my story, is because of my experiences and who I interacted with and my upbringing, right? I was just I became good at empathizing with people in the space and all potential things they were going through. And in case you don't know my story, so um, I worked for FedEx for 7 years, and I actually became President's Club. Like, I was the number one seller in my division. I don't know, maybe out of 500, maybe out of 5,000. I forget, at least 500 in my division. I know it's a 10x difference in the world in President's Club. And the next year, I was just like, I got to get out because my ambitions weren't being satisfied. So I decided technology was the space I was going to go into. I was too I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I was too timid. So I was a top seller in my 20s. Yet in my 30s, I was fired or laid off 3 times by my mid 30s. So I'm like mid 30s, barely making livable wages, sometimes not getting paid. And I found myself directionless in a period when I was supposed to have figured it out. Like, my friends were doing bigger things, getting to that next level, and I was just kind of going around in circles. And there's many psychological reasons for that, but it was tough. And the third job I lost in my mid 30s, and maybe I'm now in my late 30s, was at the beginning of COVID. And I was really good at landing interviews, but the interviews dried up in COVID. Like, people weren't really hiring. So I just decided to lean into LinkedIn, this thing called LinkedIn, and talk to people, like network. So we created this DM chat of like myself, Galen Germay, Ben Haber, Stephanie Madsen, some of these names you might know, some you might not. Um, and we became friends. And I'm like, hey, why don't you introduce why don't you bring in more people that are like this kind of energy, like this vibe? Because I'm like, we just need people that are a vibe. And my original goal of this like DM group was just to show, like, you know how they say like you got to show people that you'd be good. And I had been a head of sales and stuff, and like before doing the job, so you could do it on the resume, but you got to go above and beyond, right? Like for getting a job. And I'm like, this is my above and beyond. I wanted to leverage this group to get a job. But the energy of the group was like palpable. Like we fed off each other because of that. Like LinkedIn kept shutting down every day, like on our apps. Like we would be messaging and then it would just like zoom out because we were like going so fast and so hard. And so this group, which is now 25 people a month in, started complaining. They're like, why don't we just go to Slack? And I'm like, okay, I think we have a community. By this time, we had picked the name RevGenius for whatever this was. And I'm like, let's look at the community space. We had one community that was paid and for senior leaders. Okay, cool. There's one community that wasn't paid and for senior leaders. Cool. I'm like, do they realize that their lack of inclusivity like isn't the best impact for the space? Whatever, cool, like it is what it is. And I respect them both tremendously, but I saw this gap. And there was a content website which was really great, and people went to a bunch of their webinars, but it wasn't really a community that there was empathy. And then there was another site and company that people still don't know what it is to this day. Like they just pivot so much. And some of you in your heads are probably thinking, you probably know which is which. And that's kind of interesting, right? Like how clear it is. And I'm like, wait, is there really not anything for everybody that's $0 that like isn't just a content website where people can get this empathetic connection with others that really understand what they're going through? There's got to be something that I just don't see. I don't know. I Googled it for a minute or two. I'm like, I don't think there is. So I said, that's what we're going to be. We'll figure out how to make money. Maybe it's sponsorships. Maybe it's something we haven't even considered. Maybe we'll charge members at some point if they want more. But having a no cost pathway access was big, because I'm like, if you remember 3-4 years ago, times were in the States like, you know, a little hot, like, you know, with exclusivity and what was going on with tensions and stuff. And I'm like, let's just let everybody fucking in. And you know, certain people that can't get to the top, they'll be in the same group as people that are there and have access, no dollar cost, so that like anybody that had and I understand it's not completely inclusive because you do need internet connection and digital, but it was the best we could do, right? And we did. And I just started inviting a ton of people every day, 300 people a day, and 30 of them would say yes. Now if you do the math, 30 times 30, you're pretty close to 1,000 there. So that combined with me posting on LinkedIn, combining with like there being like this movement of creators just starting, and they're like, yeah, we want to be a part of this. We're going to announce, we're going to throw it on our LinkedIn profiles. I think we have over 4,000 of our 40,000 members that say RevGenius on their LinkedIn profiles. We had some nice growth groups going. So the challenge was, you know, the aha moment in this whole journey. So like we're growing, and a few months in, I still need a job. I'm like, I'm not making any money. So like, yeah, this is great. Jared created this amazing thing. How the fuck can you eat, let alone have a house? Like, and people like, I remember spilling tea on my computer and broke it. And I had a recruiter that I was friends with actually offered to pay me to buy a new computer for me, and that was the sweetest thing on earth. But I also think it was like honest philanthropy, because like I was like, I really needed it. And some people have seen the pictures of where I lived and what I did, and those are all real. The mental side of things I can't show as well. It was as hard or harder than you think. And right now, I what's that? What was that? Anyway,
Yeah, it was just a noise.
so these two recruiters that I love, that and another person told me, they told me to stop interviewing. And I'm like, damn, but I need money now. And so I just leaned in even further and I went even harder. So without a job, I put in, I don't know, 12 hours a day, unpaid, to build something I had no idea what it was. I just knew that there was a gap and that the people needed it. I sensed the people needed it. RevGenius was born. And then one day somebody paid me. So I took my first $5,000 paycheck for the month, December 2020, after not having taken any money since like February, March of that year. Thank you, U.S. unemployment. It paid my rent. Thank you, Dad. He actually fed me for 5 weeks as well. It wasn't enough that I got my rent paid. I needed to move home because I didn't want to give up my apartment. That's like admitting defeat. Ended up moving in with my girlfriend during that time. That is an amazing thing. It's a wonderful thing, but also like during that time, it's kind of like, is it love or is it economics? Still figuring that out, but it's love. But like you get the idea. I'm just being very real and authentic with you all. It's fucking hard, and I don't recommend it for anybody. But I will the take. I don't recommend doing all of that, but I do recommend building a movement for the people with whatever you're doing, um, and being collaborative with the people. And we'll talk about that going on. But anyway, thank you for listening. That was more concise in my head.
No, it can't be more concise than this. It was seriously amazing, and by the time we just heard that noise, and I was like, "Oh my god, this needs to, this needs to continue." I listen to this. I want to listen to
Do
this
not
again.
unrecord anything I said about my living situation. There's no need for that anywhere outside
No,
of
no, we will.
this.
It's exclusive between this group. I'll only take the good part out and put it there for sure.
That's
So,
what you get
Jared,
for showing up here. The real.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, Jared, when you talk about collaborative growth, again,
Yeah.
we have always seen that community building is not a one man show, right? It actually takes the effort from most of the people who are there and who see a value in that. So, when you talk about collaborative growth, definitely reaching out to this scale requires certain collaborative growth. Would you like to share some thoughts on that? How did you achieve that?
Yeah. So building community. So what I realized, and why we're throwing around this term collaborative growth, community building is nebulous, right? Like how I'm talking about it is super like authentic and cool and everything. If we bring 10 other companies in, they're just like demand gen. Yeah, or like customer success. And that's fine. Um, not everyone can be so romantic with it. And frankly, not everyone can afford, like we need to move companies forward. We need to grow businesses. And now RevGenius is able to do that. But like early in our DNA, like I just wanted to do it for the people. So how can you build community? So I reached out to 300 plus people a day on LinkedIn. I had a 2 or 3 liner that made it real easy for them to join. DM'd them quite a bit. people were excited to receive this note because they saw like RevGenius around. They're like, amazing. I've been hearing about you from so many people. Thanks. I was copying and pasting myself versus automating. And the reason for that was I wanted to be able to reply right away because like automation, and also because LinkedIn it finds automation and kills your account very quickly. But also, and more importantly, was automation could send the outbound, but automation can't reply when they say, "Hey, I'd love to join." And when they say, "Hey, I'd love to join," replying back to them within a reasonable period of time, under an hour, under 15 minutes, was I it helped build communities. So like I'd reply back, like, "I'm so amped to have you, so amped to have you, Ayush. Here's the link, and when you go in, make sure to introduce yourself." And then having these little conversations, you'd find out a little bit about them. Sometimes they'd volunteer it up, like, "Hey, I'm looking for a new job, can you help me?" Awesome. Go to this channel right away, and like I'd manually guide them through onboarding slightly, at least like a one liner. Hit up Anish, who's phenomenal. He was the first community manager at RevGenius. Some of you may know him. He's one of the most incredible humans still. And I'd send everyone to Anish. He saved me. But like you get the idea. So now where collaborative growth comes in, it's this new idea that I'm still putting together that I'm a strong advocate of. Building community, a lot of it is truly is empathy, it's nuance, it's all of that. And communities are replaceable as well. Like people join communities today. So like 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, it's different than today. People join communities because of FOMO. If I were to go out with all of you right now after this and said, "This is our community, we're starting it, this is the biggest fucking new community." The difference is we're a community of community people, and we're going to all announce it on LinkedIn, and we're going to show up here. Like we could create a little bit of a movement, probably, like if it made sense. Like we could do that. Um, there wouldn't be a good chance of us making it to month 3 or 4 with the same veracity, right? Like, and communities are replaceable. So I got to thinking, like, how could we make them not replaceable? And even RevGenius, engagement dipped at different points depending on different things. People left, all of that, and that happens across the board. So how could he make it irreplaceable? What's irreplaceable in your lives? Maybe religion, maybe the communities around that, maybe your kid's school, maybe yeah, something you get tons of value from. I'm like, cool, let's double click on value. What's value? Well, it's extrinsic and intrinsic. It's like sometimes it's money in my pocket, sometimes it's introductions I made, sometimes it's getting me a job and all of this. I'm like, cool. And what are the communities best doing that in B2B? I think HubSpot and Salesforce are really good at at uh at giving their community members reasons to be evangelists, like financial reasons. Like there's HubSpot agencies, there's Salesforce agencies, they're bigger than the actual network of the product. And their evangelists, the loudest evangelists, are people that can make money from the product. So collaborative is like, hey, is being a part of this community giving you a status thing or whatever, like something that's both intrinsic and extrinsic, like how you think about it to yourself and how others view you, like the Forbes Council and stuff like that. That is the easiest to give somebody at go. Are we getting you a job? Are we putting money in your pocket? Are we hiring you directly fractionally? And like hiring a lot of people, right? Like there's some companies that'll hire 100 influencers at a time, and that builds community kind of, right? Like it does. Like those people are leaning in, they're supporting the product because they're paid to, but but it's kind of like a vibe. Groups of small communities of advisors for companies, all of this. Like, what are you giving them? And if you could hit a couple or a few of these things, you're going to have a lot better retention. People are going to be more attached to your product. And why is that? Because you're fucking giving them shit that they want. So it's not just solving a problem. That's where it starts. Like there's a problem. There wasn't an open community for everyone. Great solution. Come in. If and it's very hard for us to do this at $0, right? So we're not perfect at this in the least, but us helping people get jobs, us, that badge on the LinkedIn meaning something, us helping people get money, that we don't have a product, so there's like a couple less things there, but this is the idea of collaborative growth. It's really saying community is everything. And some of these things I said sound a little like partnership or Nearbound, and they are. Some of these things might sound a little like customer marketing, and it is, or evangelism or influencers. It's all a part of the new community that we're going. This is all part of collaborative growth. It's understanding everyone in the ecosystem. The ecosystem is not in the right word, like the bigger space. Thank you for listening.
Amazing. So even when I joined RevGenius, the main reason why I joined RevGenius is because one of my connections, I saw that the announcement is I'm a member of RevGenius, and I was like, what is RevGenius? And that's how that was my first introduction to RevGenius. And then you won't believe it, within a month I saw 10 impressions of people saying that I am joining RevGenius as a badge on their profile, and I was like, oh my god, I need to go and get engaged in this group. That's how the entire value is being created for everyone. So you said that
Well, also your what happened with your profile views once you put your badge on your profile?
I have not put it.
Uh, oh, you haven't put it on? Okay.
I have not put it. I'm sorry.
So there's the RevGenius effect. People were literally 10xing their views.
Yes, it does. I
What
have
was the
seen
price
that.
of that? $0 We're getting you business. I had people from India calling me saying, thank you. I got a client because I had RevGenius on my profile.
Hmm.
I got fired and I got a client. I'm like, damn, I wish I was part of that. Like literally helping, but I wasn't. So these are all, if you're not igniting these kinds of values, and I call it collaborative growth now because it's a little easier and more executable. What are you doing?
Exactly.
What are
And
you doing?
that's
Like
where,
you might as well just cold email people. That's all you care about, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with cold emailing people. I cold email people. It's amazing.
so you said that in your entire journey there were certain stages wherein you see that engagement dropping down, and then you have done something to improve the engagement.
Yeah.
What were those
You
things?
always talk to members. That's how you improve engagement. Talk to more people and ask them what they need and what they're not
And
getting.
does it work like a cycle, or does it happen anytime?
So that's the challenge, right? And like if so you have to, you just have to keep giving and like keep understanding, like and listening. So if you don't listen, everything will be a cycle and you'll have no idea why. Listening, you understand where the gaps are, where the market's changing, and listening isn't always just talking with members. That's a big part of it, but it's like literally listening to what's happening on social, what the popular things are, what the sentiment is in the space, creating programming around that, and in meeting members' needs. Now it's hard to do at scale. It's fucking hard. Um, but you have to figure out different ways and different products that you could meet the most people's needs with. You're never going to meet everybody's as you grow unless you're super niche and you have a small group. And I think those kinds of groups are wonderful. And even then you won't meet everybody's needs, but you'll probably meet a good percentages.
Arvind has asked a question. What do you mean by programming? Arvind, would you like to just unmute and
Sure.
elaborate on the question?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for this opportunity. You mentioned
Oh yeah.
that programming for such a big audience is a challenge, but I don't
Yep.
understand the way you're using the word program because I don't think it's writing code. And a confession,
Right.
I'm a newbie when it comes to community creation, so I apologize if this is something that I should already know.
First and foremost, you shouldn't already know anything. And coming in with humility and asking a question, like it's the best way to come in. I just listened to a podcast yesterday about um people trying to sell their company and not knowing anything about what they were doing. And it was kind of beautiful doing it that way because it simplified everything. So programming is not coding. You're correct. Programming is different events or content
Got it. Like TV
distributed to the
programming,
community.
like what's happening
Ex-
which day. All right.
exactly. So I have a community of salespeople. I need to throw something around sales. Oh, nobody showed up. Oh, it's because they're leaders, for instance, or they're individual contributors, or the content I put out was from like last year and not like relevant enough. So, all different levers to make sure you find the right content, and then also having like an NPS score or a feedback loop after. But the best way to measure content's effectiveness versus other stuff or programming's effectiveness is looking at who registered, like in numbers, in titles. Like, did the people register who you wanted, or is it a different person? Like, I was hoping to have just VPs of sales, but SDRs came. I was hoping for 250 people, but 50 people came. So registrations, but also attendees. So, like, if you throw an event and 100 people register, and let's say 25% is the average attendee ratio, and you have below that, why? Like, did I not promote it the right way? All of that. So those are just a few different levers around programming. Was that
May
helpful?
I? Yes, yes. May I ask a follow-up, which is going to be
Yeah.
quite relevant? Now, when I'm trying to build a community, right, mentally I'm thinking like, hey, I'm going to be housing them in Discord or on Slack or
Uh-huh.
something. But I understand that communities is more ethereal, right? It can be spread across a bunch of different places.
Yep.
If I
Well
want
said.
to get my community members to congregate, what can I do with my programming to enable that?
Awesome question. And as I say, Discord and Slack is a place for community to live. It's not a community,
Correct.
right? An office is a place for a company to live. It's not a company.
Mm-hmm.
So what you could do is create a webinar like this,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, or survey the community. What's the community about? Out of curiosity.
Oh, mine. It's about helping solo founders build a profitable business.
Amazing. What aspect are they having the biggest hard time with?
Sales and marketing.
Okay. What about sales and marketing? Like what output does sales and marketing give that they're having? Is it closing the deals? Is it opening the deals? Is it
Right. It's
which part?
tool set, skill set, and mindset, right? All of that.
Tool set, skill set, and mindset. That sounds a little fluffy.
Specifically, they don't know how to sell because they are experts, but they have no clue or they have an aversion sometimes to marketing and sales. They're like, "Ah, money is evil, that sort of a thing. But
Put that in 7 words or less. That's your first program. Let's go.
got it.
right? Like, and bring in an expert that's been, or even better, have a community member that's got this figured out. Let's hope that there's one.
Mhm.
If there's not, then they're looking for you for the answer, and it's more of an audience, and they're looking for your program because you might be the Are you the expert in this
I am.
case? There you go. So then that's going to be you, and maybe you bring on a guest
Mhm.
that's also good, or somebody from the community that went through this
Mhm.
to teach them that.
Okay.
Is that helpful?
It is. And I'm extending this by thinking if I can deliver this with a regular cadence, say weekly or
Yeah.
monthly or whatever, maybe that would be enough to overcome the inertia and people will actually start to attend.
Yeah, and also keep in mind, networking
Mhm.
always works if people like the room they're in, so to speak, right?
Right.
So if there are other founders that are figuring this out, and from community monetization can be the same thing, but we'll talk about that. So and you should look at different community structures and how they structure it to help folks. I like Hampton, perhaps, for what you're doing. Assuming, is it a paid community?
No, it's free.
Okay, so you don't want to give them. I mean, you can't afford to give them too much because it's going to take a lot of your time.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
okay.
So
But yes.
yeah. So, well, because you're going to need more people than just you as well. So, like, when I
Certainly.
say, like, to be clear, you can't like give them everything as one person, even
Mhm.
if you try.
Very true.
You have to pick which way you're going to fail. But you could have founders congregating or solopreneurs congregating with others and say,
Mhm.
like, hey, um, maybe every Wednesday we have a meet and greet where everyone that's new in the last week comes in and meets everybody, or
Right.
just the people that started in the last week. Maybe you could break them into mentor mentee. If you see that there's two different levels of people,
Mhm.
like people that have it figured out and people that are just like very novice, maybe
Mhm.
there isn't. Or maybe if there isn't and there's the need, I'm just trying to think of the value you could get from having solopreneurs that made it already come in, or what value they would give. I don't know if they sold courses or something and they could, make those available to the
Like open the
community.
kimono type events might be useful.
Yeah.
Got it.
But just try something and recalibrate.
Yeah.
Everyone on this call, there's a 100% chance
Yep.
you're not going to do as well your first time as you will next. And I'm pretty sure that goes with everything. There's an exception somewhere, but I don't know.
All right. Thank you for that, Jared. Appreciate it. And thank you for that,
Yeah.
Ayush, the opportunity as well.
How do you
So,
monetize? Well,
Jared,
there's a couple questions on monetization we could go into if you want. So, at what point did I decide to go from community monetization? So, they're not mutually exclusive, but I to do this full time, I needed to make money from it, and sponsors started approaching me, offering me money, so I took it, and then I figured out how to structure different things, and then please share some inputs on how to monetize the community. The first step of monetizing the community is making sure you have a bomb ass community. The second step is making sure you have a bomb ass community. And the third step, you got it, making sure you have a bomb ass community. And then when it's popping and your metrics are going, then you can say, hey, person, I have a bomb ass community. Here's my stats that prove it. Are you in or not? No, no worries. I'm going to get all your competitors on. And they know it because you have bomb ass community. Does that make sense? Because I could start one tomorrow and lie to people and be like, hey, give me money or here. So that's first thing. So that's if you're taking from the sponsorship model. The second way, obvious way, is getting it from the members. And I'm of the point of view that you need to understand the value you provide before like turning that up. So what I mean by that is I've done this successfully. We brought in like a founding group of members where we didn't charge them because I mean, if the community's value is the members, you need to have members in to provide value. If the community's value is the learnings that come out and you're creating all the learnings already and you have facilitators and you have all this other stuff, you could charge them right away for it, right? Like, hey, you want to be in the first group, you might want to discount it in the beginning just to get folks in. I'm of the school of thought that the members are a big value point of the community versus the courses because members can learn more from one another than from a course, assuming they're leadership people. Okay. If they're individual contributors, sales, marketing, what have you, they might need to come in for a course or something in the beginning. But yeah, so the two main ways to monetize a community, to be clear, are from a sponsor standpoint and from a member standpoint. The member standpoint tends to be the cleanest. You have 50 members in, they pay all of this. Your job is to make sure they're happy and that they're getting value. I hope that was helpful. And then to start, if you're going to have courses, there's value right away. If the members are the value, you probably want to let a few in to create that value.
Mahmood, do you have a follow-on question?
The follow-up question for me about, it was really, you mentioned a couple of things around the KPIs. And as a guy coming from a somewhat in the background of analytics, what were the key things that you tracked as a community grew, right? Because obviously at different things, you've got different ways of slicing and dicing who you've got in the community. But what were the ones that stood out for you to say, we've now got a bomb-ass community? So you could then have the conversation.
Yeah, there's two KPIs. The one that matters the most is engagement. It's also the hardest to measure because if community lives in 3 or 4 places, what does that mean? I have a 10% engagement rate in Slack. I have 250 people showing up to webinars on Zoom. I have people on LinkedIn liking and commenting on my company's posts. What counts? What doesn't? So creating a unified view for that is important, but engagement is the North Star metric that measures the health. And then like the vanity metric of like acquisition is great, but like and important. And I think acquisition is actually arguably the most important one early on because you got to get people in. And if you're acquiring people by like a ferocious level, but you're not activating them. And I'm saying like the growth metric, but you're not activating them, but their engagement's falling off or whatever. Okay, great. Like you have something like really fucking good. You just need to fix something. So, focusing on acquisition early and then throughout, but then like diving in and making engagement at a certain part, the North Star metric, like, okay, I'm getting 2,000 people a month, cohort analysis, 3 months down the road, 30 of them are still around. What's going on? Or 10 of them are still around. Then you have to dive into that and play doctor and fix that. Was that helpful?
It was. I think, the key thing is you said engagement, right? As long as you've got people coming, the word of mouth, the 6 degrees of separation effect, that all help, right? And I think the gamification type thing of adding the badge, that sounded like a really good kind of tipping point.
Yeah, it was cool. And the vanity metric of like just gross number of people in the community, it's not the most important to measure if people like it or not, or like are engaged clearly. Early on, there's nothing wrong with optimizing for those vanity metrics because that's what the world is going to see. They're going to be like, oh shit, all these people joined. And then again, at a certain point you need to go and play doctor and switch the metrics. But I think it helps create a movement. Like we had 10,000 people show up for a protest here. Now they didn't keep with the group, but like that hit all the news splash and stuff. Now it's up to the bigger group to say, okay, how do we get them still around? I think that's like an interesting analogy, actually. Like you could create a movement by getting 10,000 people on this month. That's kind of interesting to get started. And then it's like, okay, how do we get 9,400 to stay next month?
So, Jared,
We're here.
Mahmood, is the question answered? Okay, cool. So, Jared, Vivek has a question. Vivek just wants to know that how can you drive engagement in the community? So, Vivek, why don't you unmute and just give a context about it?
Sure. So, hey, Jared, a big fan of your work.
What's up?
It's yes, all good, all good. So, I am building actually a community in an IT industry. We have somewhere around 2,000 members now, and it's
Yep.
something like that's always like what you're discussing about. The idea is not that once you have those 2,000, it's how to retain them, how to make sure that you're consistently adding value to their lives. It's a
Yep.
free community right now. So my main question is around this idea that how can you add value to all the members, especially if you are into IT industry?
Yep. So I said collaborative growth before. Watch this. Community nebulous, collaborative growth, intrinsic and extrinsic. Oh, now we're a little clearer. I see education, inspiration, entertainment. Is that inspiration, entertainment? Is that like valuable to everybody? Fuck no. Put money in their fucking pockets. 1. Teach them how to get more money. 2. Give them status and get them around really smart people like that can help them move their career. 4. Put them in situations to make more money with new job, promotion, all of that. We're a little clearer now, huh? Collaborative growth for the
Yes.
win. Let's go.
Awesome, awesome.
As much as I love entertainment and inspiration and all of that, you're gonna fucking churn people. They love that today. They don't love it tomorrow. Let's get the nebulous out. Collaborative growth.
Awesome,
Like,
awesome.
how
Thanks
many
a lot.
days in a row can you be active with inspiration being the key driver? And eventually I mute that. How many days in a row can you be active with people putting money in your pocket every day? At least that's what I think. Now you could, but you know what's key about that, and I want to be thoughtful here. Understand what they want value with. Like all of my things I just said were hypotheses that I found true with a lot of people. It might not be with everybody. So
And
sharing the
Arvind has a
spotlight
very
has helped getting
interesting.
community members talking as well. Yeah. So value as well is increase their visibility. Why do they want to increase their visibility? To make more money. Why do people build a personal brand? Okay, fine. It could be for ego too, but I'm gonna say that it's a little more thoughtful than that. Thoughtful, a little more better for the world.
I think it's more
So,
simplified. That
so a follow-up question, Jared. Uh, so when you try to go along those paths, like often I see that it group turns into something like a spam zone. So is there any tips on that, like how you navigated such
You
things
don't
with
let them
RevGenius?
sell. You help empower and enable that, right? Like this channel is where you get a job. Now, if you're going out saying, I need a job, I need a job, I need a job, shut up, go to this channel. There's no selling zones, but this channel, this is where you can meet people looking for your product. So to your point, you want to create situations where and with third party community, it's tougher. Moderation is key. You can't sell yourself or anything, but you could teach people how to engage. You could connect people that are looking for us to hire a certain type of person with those people. And you have a whole program. Like you're looking for hires, you have a job board, you're looking for contractors, you have this. And if you promote anything outside of this, that's not cool. Like get out. So you create those things for them and and put lots of love into them to make sure that they work and that they have results so that people trust them. I hope that was straightforward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Jared.
Of course, it's about being thoughtful, but I'm trying to take like the nuance out and make it a little easier. And as soon as people take it into their own hands to make more money, they're just spammers. Nobody wants a spammer in any room. Okay, think about this. When you enter a community, you need to be thoughtful. Like, let's take a step back. A community is people. Like, would you walk into a dinner party and walk right up to somebody where everyone's enjoying their cocktails and say, "Hey, I'd like to sell to you"? There's people that do that every 10 times as much digitally, right? And there are people that do it in person, but nobody invites that person back, right? Nobody invites them. Like, who's that annoying person? You want to create a room where everyone feels comfortable. People don't feel comfortable getting sold to. It's a necessary part of life, and stuff. A community is a safe space, man. If you don't keep it a safe space, it's out.
So, Jared, talking about the business perspective, so you are an advisor in a lot of companies. How do you tailor your advice in terms of community-led growth to definitely different industries, different company sizes, and different marketing budgets?
Yeah, I think the first part is like understanding what movement we could create with them. That's the first thing. Like, why do you want to? Why is a community needed? I mean, I started a newsletter because I wasn't sure a community was needed. I'm like, this shit's hard. Um, but I think the newsletter is kind of interesting. Like 65% open rates. That's pretty good. So first thing, what's the gap you're solving? Like, what's the big thing? Like, I want to create a community of salespeople. Great. Haven't heard that before. Why? Why is it needed? And I just had this conversation with my brother-in-law today. He goes, I'm like, who's your product for? And we figured out it was for AEs. And I'm like, okay, interesting. Like there aren't that many communities for AEs, but like let's unpack like what problem, like, oh, we're a research product. And I'm like, cool, outbound's hard, like that's one MO, like all this, like figure out what the challenge is. Outbound is hard is kind of a lazy thing. We're still working on it, clearly. It's just one call today. But and then evangelize the problem. Evangelize the problem. And then you take a step back. Okay, how does the community to look around that? Well, what's logical? Like not everything needs to be in Slack. Um, what are the problems at hand, all this, and figure out and build a structure around what the needs are. And frankly, I'd hold off building a platform as long as possible, because you could build a community advisory board, you could herd evangelists and do all of that and create a really big impact without having a formal community space. So we would do something like that. That answer your question?
Okay. Yeah, again, but my question delves a bit deeper into it, wherein, so I have been interacting with a lot of companies these days about people first growth, community led growth. And certainly I have identified that very few companies do understand the returns against the investment that is compounded with this model. Again, keeping in hypothesis that the problem is making sense. We just talk high level about what is their intent, because if the intent is not there, it doesn't make sense. Even if the belief is not there about serving people, then it doesn't make sense. But when you talk about intent and belief, I have seen that very few companies do opt for yes long-term strategical approach for this rather than taking a transactional path, because ROI is something which needs to be showcased to the board members. So where do you think
If you're
this
taking the
committee?
if you're taking the ROI path, don't even start it. Don't even start it. I'm not here to sell you on it. You're going to just be pushing against it the whole time. Don't even start it. We're not a fit.
Mm,
I need ROI this month. Fuck you. I'm out.
mm,
Community is for the people. Remember that. Now, when you make things for the people and you create a movement, you create brands that are unmatched by any others. Look at Nike. Look at, so like what's the ROI? Geez, man. Like you're not cool enough for a community if that's the conversation you're having. You got to connect with the people. Maybe not the best
yeah,
answer.
exactly.
Sue me.
So
I'm not taking that client on.
and
Like what? You're just
where
going to
do you,
throw events? What are you going to get to with ROI? You're going to throw an event and then market to the people that attended the event,
exactly. So
drive
again,
to a pipeline. Like, why do you need community for that? Just throw an event.
exactly. This is what actually came out in most of the conversations that I had earlier with the founders. But now, in my first interaction, I got to know that okay, these are certain checks and balances that justifies that okay, they are not fit for the community led growth.
Not a fit.
And where do you
Not.
think AI is fitting in this entire approach?
What do you guys think the future of AI is? I think the future of AI is community.
Because everything would be automated with AI, so we will be left to
Nope. The
connecting with
future
each
of
other.
AI is community. When technology costs and efficiencies, when costs go down and they become more efficient, what happens in the course of time? More people go into those spaces. I'm not sure if that's right, Jared. Said the 7,000 founders that just went into AI this year, the 12,000 new ones coming next year. How many GTM people know their AI strategy right now? And if you were to guess, like percentage wise, is it a high percentage? Is it over or under 50%? Would you say?
I think it's between 10% to 20%.
Right. So let's say it's 20%. And you have all of these founders that are not super technical coming into AI figuring it out. Is AI are they to rely on AI to tell them the answers that they don't know? No, they're going to rely on people. My point remains the future of AI is community.
And
Prove it
how
otherwise.
it can help in building community and community led growth, like engagement, nurturing, and all these things.
It'll help them create stronger products, talking to other people. It'll help people talking to other people will help them best integrate AI into their strategies and all of that. I think sure there'll be AI products in the community space that'll take out sentiment and all of this, but frankly, if people don't have strategy, they're not going to know how to use it. They need people to help teach them how to do this.
Yeah. And Jared,
People are
talking
not
about
as smart as we're giving them credit for. Like they're not as prepared for this as we're giving credit for. It's happening very, very fast.
exactly, I completely agree there. And talking about conferences, I recently attended RevCon, which you have organized. I was blown away seeing 2,000 people were sitting online in an online event that you conducted 3 days completely free of cost.
I know we're
7,000
crazy.
plus registrations, right?
Yeah.
How was the background? What was the background story, and how did you pull up that growth? Would you like to share some
We took like
things?
3 months, 5 months to build that. Like it's been crazy. So like just want to give as much value as possible to the people. And I might be stupid for doing it, but some people like it. But the
Yeah,
brands got awesome like awesome recognition. for being that. Like the event was really well run. My team did a spectacular job. I did an okay job. They did a phenomenal job. They really took it to the next level, and we just found a bunch of really good speakers. We found some sponsors, and we thought that this was a very important thing to do. We've done it this is our third year. It was very important because of a few reasons. One, we wanted to create like a FOMO type event that was accessible. In the future, would we do charged? We might we might, if it's in person, we would have to do charged, but like online, maybe not. Like having this FOMO like event in the fall every year, if we were going to announce something new or create a new movement or something like that, it's good to have. But it's also like we had 24 speakers, it lifts all the speakers up back to this collaborative growth thing, right? It also creates a groundswell on social back to this community-led growth thing because people are sharing it for like a week or 2 weeks. There was a lot of impressions about RevCon on social from the speaker sharing and all of that. And then also like these are some great thought leaders that have a lot to teach. Now we're also activating them in our community because we're giving them something, right? Like we're creating that collaborative growth.
And I think what I have noticed is that before, just before RevCon and after RevCon, I saw a huge spike in the entire brand of RevGenius and you especially.
Now imagine if you could do that every
You
month.
can say it, yes.
Imagine
You can say it.
I've already started thinking about how we could do this every month. Don't get me wrong, but that's a tactical thing. I think there's more strategy to be had. But thank you for noticing.
Yeah. But
And I know this too because I there were some like such nuanced things from people I respect, like conversations that led me to believe that was the case. Like and yeah, I'm really humbled to have been able to do that and to have had success with that because it's very hard.
So, Jared, I believe that I think 1 hour is about to over, and you also have to
I have to
leave.
hop, unfortunately. Hold on.
Do you
Can
have to hop
we?
on?
Yeah, can we continue this some other time? Like we're
Sure,
right at
sure,
the hour
sure.
right now. Like was this
I didn't
interesting for
realize it.
everybody? I'm seeing people have to hop in the comments too, so like I'm not the only one.
Guys, you can unmute and then
So watch
possibly
this.
share your
You want to
thoughts.
build community with this? We could do this again next week this time. I'm down doing it every Thursday from 10 to 10:30 a.m. for a few weeks if you wanted to.
Sure, sure, definitely. Let me plan this and we'll share an invite with
And
everyone. Anyone who joins, we will be
and I want
greatly
this to be
appreciated.
like a round table. Like I'll help facilitate, but I want others coming up and telling more about what they're doing so that we could workshop it together. And through that time over the next few weeks, you'll be like, holy shit, was that just a community that came about? Like that was interesting. I want you to learn through osmosis, if that makes sense. So
Vivek,
I'm
would you
committing
like
to
to end?
next week. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens after that. But next week let's do a round table and let's I'll continue to answer whatever questions, but I want to hear like case studies from all of you so that we could see about giving you
Sure.
clearer
Let
value.
me plan this next week. Vivek, are you in?
Absolutely. So first of all, Jared, like I'm just inspired and like I knew you about your work. I used to see everything, but like just hearing you face to face, it's like so inspiring. Thank you very much. Like this is actually what leadership is all about, leading on the ground level. So thank you again. And thank you, Ayush, for organizing such an amazing event.
I'm sure you'll be interacting continuously on this.
Hold on one second. But yeah, no, and my apologies, I'm a little tired, so that's why I might be like a little edgy, but thank you for bearing with me. I just want to give you the rawest, and I don't have all of the answers. That's why I started a community. I have a lot more answers now than I did. So like you you'll see me know some shit really well, and you'll see me figuring some stuff out. And I just want to be real and authentic with you all. And that's the beauty of community. When you come at it from an angle that you're a learner yourself, you're going to give the best product to the people, because like you're not going to be the expert. If you were an expert, you would launch a course, right? Like there's a reason why you're launching a community. And sure, you could have a community around a course. I get it, but you get the idea.
Great. We'll look forward to our conversation next week, Jared. And I'm pretty sure Kaushik, Mahmood, and Vic and I would be there. And again,
All right.
all others also.
Let's see.
Thank you
Let's see if
so
we can
much.
get like 10 or more people. All right. Speak soon. Bye.
Sharing your stories.
So,
Bye. Thanks, Ayush.
bye, Mahmood. Yeah,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Thanks, Ayush. Bye.
Bye. Bye, Alexa. Bye, Rahmat. Bye, Akash.